we're live. All right. And I got the TV out. Oh, it's actually pretty big this week, isn't it? So I got the TV out, but I couldn't get much of a signal. And so Matt, we couldn't make a connection with Matt. So I have the next best thing. So Will is joining me this week to co-host. So hello, Will.
Hello, hello. I'm second best to Matt. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I just wanted to... Next best. That's not second best. I could be. You guys could be like, ninth and 10th actually. So yeah.
Oh, that's true. Okay, that makes me feel even better.
So thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. So you may recognize Will from our actual plays. So Matt, Will, and I have been at it for a while on doing some Discord actual plays, and we've done a lot of 2D20, and we're now currently posting the Vaesen, the Free League. Nordic horror. So we've got we went through the whole book of their first adventure book. Was it A Dark Secret, Another Mystery, something? So we did all 4 of those adventures, and I did them out of order, and it ended up with a player death. Spoilers. I think that's already been live. That's already been out there, but ended the whole book with a player death. So it was pretty crazy how that worked out.
Is there more published stuff by them yet?
Yes,
I don't know.
They did a Great Britain. They did in England and Ireland, so that changed some of the mythology. It's more Celtic and British, monsters. So they did that. That was kickstarted, and then there was the original series that an actual play team in Sweden did, and that was actually published as it's about giants. I forget the title of it, but they ran an original campaign and then ended up writing it up and Free League published it. So there's a couple more.
Okay, cool.
And there's
because we've been doing a lot of Dune, so we haven't really gotten back to it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll have to. Dune is just so expansive; it's hard to find a good stopping point. But we'll have to get back to some of these, and some of these games are going to have new editions. Star Trek is going to have a new edition soon, so I think it's already out. Yeah, they did a second edition. So
I didn't even know that they. Okay, yeah. See, I'm out of the loop on all the stuff, so I'm going to be a great quote unquote co-host today. I'll just be like, really? After you say everything.
Yes, yeah. So they took out the D6s. So trying to make it maybe a little bit more like Dune.
Feels like that would be the right way to go. It seemed like that was an extra level of shenanigans for a game that doesn't really care about damage that much and everything. You might as well just
that's really true.
Let it happen.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's a good point, and hopefully that will help streamline kind of their starship combat and stuff. I think that needed some help. So that's a good point. So we'll see what. If we get a chance to get back to that. I love those, kind of weekly episodes, kind of episodic Star Trek is really fun. So,
yeah, it has a way different. It's like Vaesen. It has a way different feel. You're right. The Dune stuff just feels like there's never a stopping point, right? Because of what's going on. So we don't know. I mean, it's not like we're enjoying, we're having fun, but it's like, is this the last? No. Okay, we're still going. What's going to happen next? Oh, now we jump forward like 10 years. Okay. And then, I feel like, it could just spin forever because you have characters retire. You just keep telling stories. It never ends.
Right. Yeah, we'll be doing this for 20 years and then, oh, no, we didn't play any other games. No. And it's... I'm wondering, too, because we're getting a second edition of Alien as well. Free League is updating Alien, so I hope that they aren't. If they're successful with an IP game, I hope Modiphius doesn't end up in the same situation where they have to release a new version, and maybe that's what they did with Star Trek, because they need to be active with the license. The license they have to be releasing things to keep it. Yeah.
It seems like doing an adventure book or some other supplement would be a better way to do that than just new editions.
Yeah, that's true.
But maybe it's easier to just, do a find and replace and say, now this is version 2.0 and release it again. I don't know. I guess Star Trek needed better what's the right term for the person who's actually doing the editing of the book itself? Not the words, but the layout.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They definitely could replace that. That'd be good. But
yeah, hopefully,
yeah.
they did, because I think they released a a few companies have had to do this. They release like a booklet for the players that are just the rules, kind of like very clearly laid out. So character creation's more more simplified, or more more direct, and the actual mechanics and rules of the game are explained, where it's not like in there with all of the communique from Starfleet and all this, like history, little sidebars of, well, the Klingons. Yeah. They had all these it was a very cluttered first attempt.
Yeah, because I think that's with those all-in-one book IP things, right? Is you end up with lore has to be in there,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, how much of this is competing for the mechanics? And then, well, if it isn't tied in enough with the mechanics, then they'll just use the lore. Like, they can just use the wiki and play it on anything, and so, like, instead of actually making the mechanics work with the lore, they're just like, well, we'll make the book so blended you can't tell where one ends and the other begins.
Right.
That's good enough, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. If you make the setting and the mechanics too separate, people can just kind of strip out your mechanics and just say, yeah, we're going to use our own rule set. We're going to use something more better than what you came up with to play this system.
Because everyone has their own. I mean, how many people try to hack just D&D 5e to do everything because that's the system they know, and then they're just like, oh yeah, Cthulhu, I could do that, or I want to do a ninja movie, I'll just do it with D&D, and everyone's just a thief class or whatever, and they just because it's easier to do that in their mind than, to me, the system's the fun part. Like, I like the noodling around with that stuff and trying to figure out things. I don't know how much. I feel like a lot of times, because I'm not really a rules lawyer, I think, but I like to know how the mechanics work. And I'm fine if like we're playing, and because Matt does this all the time when we're playing, where it's like, this is how magic works, and Matt's like, just roll a d10, and if you roll 7 or higher, it works. And it's like, all right, that's what we're doing this time, cool. But like I like to know what I'm doing. I think some other people much more are into the flavor of it, and they're just like, just tell me what dice to roll, right, and I'll do it. And I'm much more like, okay, if I do this, and then I like to try to figure out how to stack things and how to work systems. But I've realized, as I've made lots and lots of role-playing systems, well, I wouldn't say made, as I've half made a lot of role-playing systems throughout the years, I do something and I think it's cool, and then I give it to the people at the table, and everyone's just like, what is this mess? And I'm like, oh, it's really cool because, like, 1 point in strength affects your agility in this way, and and I have all these things that feed off of each other, and I think it's really cool. People are like, no, man, I just want to be an elf, like, right. I don't want to have to figure out how to mastermind the system, but like, that stuff's kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah, and I liked when we first played the 2D20. That was a kind of a different kind of system than I think any of you guys had played before, and I liked you like kind of getting your heads around it and figuring out, oh, okay, this is what momentum does, and this is why I need to, like, early on kind of do inconsequential things to start generating this and kind of get the ball rolling. And I thought that was very interesting how you guys kind of the system started making sense, and then you started kind of matching it with the role play, and it worked. It worked well. That was good.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of what's the other free league. There's their fantasy setting. What's it called?
Oh,
the one. Well, basically
Forbidden Lands.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Forbidden
Lands. Yes, I always forget that name for some reason. But I mean, we played that for like a year, and the whole. It's funny, we got to the point where that we were wizards and rogues and everything, but you use that willpower stat. And how you get willpower is you push, and you have to roll some ones. And so there was this whole, like, generally, we'd spend the whole first half of whatever session just destroying ourselves to get enough willpower. Like we eventually all learned it,
right?
And then it'd be like, okay, oh, here's the big boss. We're all messed up, but now I can turn into a grizzly bear, and this guy can sneak attack him for 20 damage and all this stuff. And we're like, okay, cool. And I remember there was one session where we played, and we immediately hit, like, we had stopped the time before kind of, and we immediately started kind of in the action, and we, like, mechanically, we were not prepared. Like, this is where we're supposed to have all of our cool stuff, and we didn't have any lead up. And then there was another time where we played extra long and we burnt through everything, and then we were jacked up and didn't have any willpower, and we're like, oh, this is also hard. Like, there's definitely a sweet spot in that game, like
right.
like and I feel like that a lot with a lot of the what are they called, the mechanics light or RP heavy, whatever you want to call narrative style games, is they're supposed to be really rules light, but they end up tying a lot of rules to the make-believe part of it, which is, to me, is the stuff that should be completely free.
Right.
And then it's like, I'm not make-believing the right way for this system. So the wheels fall off type of thing. I felt that a few times. I think that's what we were fighting with at the beginning of the Jean Carter thing, is we didn't know how to make-believe correctly.
Right.
to make the system work. And it's like, okay, after you kind of get it, you kind of have to, like, it's hoops maybe sounds too confining, but like, if I hop through this hoop, then I get to be cool over here. Okay, I understand now, type of thing that you have to work your way into.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's and it's good when you match those things, because I think a lot of people, when they're just trying to, kind of game a system in kind of a meta way and figuring out what's the most efficient way or whatever, they're not connecting it with anything their character's doing. They're just gonna, I need these points, so what do I have to do to get these points? Meditate? What do I have to do? Rest? I need some points. Yeah. So yeah, I like that when it meshes and when it makes sense, like when those two things kind of click. Nice. Hey, it's Dude. Hey, Dude and Clarion. Nice to see you guys in the chat. So it doesn't look like Matt is going to be joining us. I think he's got a night out this evening. I heard some mention of some riff tracks. That's right. That's what it was.
Oh, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, going to see some riff tracks performance. Nice. All right. Well, should we get this thing started?
I'm ready.
Okay, good.
Let's go.
Let's do this. All right. So good to see everybody in the chat. Nice. And yeah, I'll keep updating. We've got not quite as many as John Carter, but we've got maybe about 8 or 10. Maybe I think it's less than 10, because each mystery was about 2 sessions. So I've got about 8 or 10 Nordic horror, dark mythic Scandinavian RPG coming up. So it's good. The mysteries are really good, and it'll give you a good idea of like the original stuff they wrote for that game. So let's get started for this week. Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm William.
Hey, Will, how's it going?
Doing good. I think. Yes, definitely doing good.
Good. Yes, so Chris could be with us, and Matt is busy. So I just go down the list. I've got like this call sheet, and I keep asking. But Will is helping me co-host this week, and he's one of the players that regularly shows up in our actual plays, so you may recognize his voice from there, and also from our very long kind of discussion of Dune. We did a kind of a review and breakdown of the Dune RPG. That's linked in the description as well. So this week on the weekly, Cosmere TTRPG, the second Brandon Sanderson success story in the RPG world. The 2024 ENnie winners. D&D is taking down, or striking at least, copyright striking YouTubers for whatever reasons. We'll find out. And Mantic is doing something interesting with Deadzone. So we'll start out with something that you have some experience and expertise with, Will. So the Cosmere Roleplaying Game. So Brandon Sanderson has become a master of crowdfunding. If he's not writing books, then he's teaming up with people to take those worlds and make millions of dollars in RPGs. So what we thought was the Stormlight Roleplaying Game actually turned out to be also the system that they're going to use for the Cosmere. So teaming up with so previously the biggest haul, the biggest crowdfunding total was Avatar Legends. That their opening day got them a $1.1 million, and that's been That's been dwarfed by Cosmere. So Cosmere breaks the Kickstarter record by raising more than $4 million on its first day. Wow. And that may have to do with the price tag. So to pledge just for the digital package is $60, which seems a little pricey for PDFs. And if you want to go all in with the Game Master tier, it's $295, not including shipping. So yeah, it's pretty impressive though. He's making some pretty big. So and what that's going to get you with the so it's Brotherwise. Sorry, Brotherwise Games is the studio that's working with Sanderson to produce these games, and you will get the Stormlight World Guide, the Stormlight Handbook, and the Stormlight Stormwalkers with a Mistborn RPG that's coming out. Hot on the heels of Stormlight in 2026. Wow. So the interesting thing that they said about these systems is if it's an active setting, if it's something that he's still writing books for, they're going to treat the RPG as a living RPG. So they'll support it as long as stories are being written. So Cosmere will continue as an RPG as long as Sanderson is writing stories. And yeah, so they talked a little bit. There was a live stream recently, and they talked a little bit about adapting the magic system from the books, and also how to make it a satisfying kind of 2D20 experience, but also have the narrative forward mechanics. So kind of putting story first. So what have you read, Will? What's your experience?
It's funny because like I'm usually one who isn't driven a whole lot by IP, as you probably can tell from our live plays, that I haven't watched any of the stuff, that I don't know anything about the worlds that we ever play in. But I have actually, I would say read, but really I have audiobooks. So I've listened to all the Out Stormlight stuff and all of the Mistborn, like the 2 trilogies, and a couple of his other short stories. So I've listened to quite a bit of his stuff. And I think, like, for me, the thing about this all is the fact that the person who's in charge of it, who's the creative behind it, Brandon Sanderson, is actually, I mean, he's not hands-on, but he's actually involved with with them doing stuff. It seems like they went to him and asked questions. He's telling them things, like, I know that they're releasing for Mistborn and Stormlight, they're releasing, like, basically lore books, and their goal was to make them coffee table books in addition to, like, a role-playing live book. He said that was kind of his pitch, is like, you look through it and like 2/3 of it is just, here's what's been going on in the world and here's a bunch of stuff, and then the last third of it is like a monster manual. But like, like one of their goals was to actually make the books be like the definitive kind of, hey, I want a Brandon Sanderson lore book, this is what they wanted to do with it. And yeah, the fact that it does look like, yeah, because I know that the 5th Stormlight book's coming out. I mean, he's done it. It's in kind of printing right now or whatever it is. But I know it's coming out either right soon or very soon. And it's also supposed to be kind of the end of, like, an arc. So it makes sense that this is right now when they release the Stormlight book, because it's going to basically catch all the way up to there. But as someone who's been watching them talk about stuff, and the people at, was it Brotherwise? The people at Brotherwise talking, yeah, I mean, there's I'm stammering. I'm so excited. The campaign that's coming along with it is something that Brandon Sanderson co-wrote. That's supposed to be taking place from, basically, it's some events that happen in the first book behind the scenes and lead all the way up into something that's a big event that happens in the 5th book. I don't even know what it's supposed to be, but basically it's like your characters are going to be the ones who trigger something in the story type of thing. He's like, of course, you probably won't do it the way, I have it set up, but that's fine. I'll never see it, is what kind of he has said. But, but it just seems cool that they actually have, I go back to, like, all the West End, like, Star Wars stuff, all the stuff that was made a long time ago, and it's like, George Lucas wasn't really involved with that stuff, to my knowledge, right? This is actually the guy whose brain is in all of it, is actually involved with the lore and filling in holes and all that type of stuff. So I think I mean, I'm not a uber fan. I haven't, like, read every little thing, but I don't think they've really even explained all the different surge binding people abilities in Stormlight. I remember right, but they're all in this book, right? Like, there's supposed to be, like, blatant lore that fans can read in this that's going to explain things that was never that they haven't even touched on yet in the story. So it's like that's kind of cool, but also then there's the worry of like, oh, is it like going to be like the MCU? Is there everything going to be so intertwined with each other that if you miss anything, you're going to feel left out? But I don't think so. He's done a good job so far.
Mm-hmm.
I think with that in general, with how he writes. But yeah, I mean, I think that they're doing some interesting stuff on the business end of it, on the narrative end of it, and I think even the mechanics are just different enough that
interesting.
It doesn't feel like a D&D 5e clone to me, right? When I see this stuff, I don't know. I'm excited about it, and really, I'm excited about the Mistborn one because I think that story-wise, the Mistborn setting is a much more interesting individual setting because, like the Stormlight stuff, everything is so intertwined with the gods and what's happening, like basically type of like what's happening in the world type of a thing on such a level that I feel if you're one of the Surge Bindy, the Knights Radiant people, you're going to be so involved with that you're going to have to rub shoulders with the characters from the books almost.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right.
Whereas I feel like with Mistborn, either era, you can just be like, yeah, no, I'm another person with special powers because it isn't like you're not a chosen one if you have the powers, where you're not exactly a chosen one, but you're someone of some importance, like a sentient entity chose you to get these powers in the Mistborn, so it changes the level of it. So I'm very excited about the Mistborn one actually, and when they announced the Cosmere thing, I was like, oh, that makes the most amount of sense that he's doing a multiverse setting instead of just his one thing. So yeah, overall, this is one of the few Kickstarters I've actually like, do I want to blow my entire year's budget on that $300 tier thing? I had to go in and talk to my wife. I'm like, okay, I've been looking at these Kickstarter. It's about $300.
Right.
I know you love me, but let's talk this out and figure out what we're going to do about it.
We don't need to get lawyers involved, but we should have a serious discussion. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good that you've had kind of a positive, like, being a fan of the books, a positive thinking about what they're doing with the game, because that is always, I think the lazy way to do it would just be, let's just make this a setting for 5e because we know the player base is there, and we could just throw it at the players, and people that aren't familiar with the books may start reading the books, and people that are fans, so it's a basic familiar setting. But it's nice that he went with a studio that's going to make its own system, and maybe it's kind of from what you're describing, maybe it's something that 5e wouldn't even be able to handle well. It kind of needs more specialized mechanics for how these the characters are gifted. So do you think the characters will be interesting? It'll be interesting to build a character and play in the world, or is it kind of a little bit too like demigod kind of style?
I think so, because the thing about, at least the way they pitched it, and a little bit I've looked, because they have like you can make a character on the website type of a thing, and so I've seen some of the basic rules. It depends on what you're doing, and that's what's kind of interesting is that, like, at least I'm assuming they'll do the same thing with the Mistborn here. Is like you start out as a non-magical character, so you're going to start out as just like, I'm a soldier, or I could be a wealthy noble, but they literally start you at level 1 as a normal person, because in that setting you have these, I don't know if you've read any books on it, but basically there's little fairies that you talk to, and then you swear an ideal, an oath to them, and that's what gives you the power. And so their whole thing is like you have to role play getting, like, swearing this oath, because that's a big thing in the books, is when they finally like say the ideal, like they get the splash of power and they're like, oh my goodness, I've reached this next level. And they actually mechanically put that in the game, so you can level up and you get like a new little tick that says now you can swear the second ideal, but you decide when you want to do it, and it has an in-game mechanical effect of, like, when you say it in a combat, all of a sudden you're flush with power for like the scene, so you get one really cool scene when this happens. Or you can just be like, I say it right now, so I'm ready to play the game the way I want to. For the, I think that's cool. It adds a narrative thing, and that seems what their direction is for most of the stuff is. And they have D&D level mechanics, right? 5e level mechanics of how combat and everything that works.
Right.
And then they have this like narrative shell that they've encapsulated in, which is like, I think a lot of stuff people talk about is that plot dice. I don't know if you've seen what that is. So in the basic mechanic of the game is whenever you roll d20. Whenever you roll 20, instead of a critical, you get an opportunity. an opportunity can be used to do a critical, so you can just make your damage max or whatever it is, or you can get basically a point of meta currency, or you can hand it in to be like do a narrative thing, right? Like that's what. And so every time you roll 20, there's this. It's like a lot of meta currencies, but it also has raw mechanic things where you just be like, it's complicated right now. We're in the middle of combat. I don't want to figure it out. I do max damage, right? Like you can use it for that too. And the critical fail is kind of the same way. It's like I'm not sure exactly how it works, but basically there could be a narrative consequence, or you can lose a point of meta currency, or like something else along those lines. And then anytime you're doing something that's particularly important to your character, or that seems like you were going along and then things took a weird turn, you can roll this plot dice. And the plot dice is basically a d6 that 2 of the sides give you a critical, and 2 of the sides give you a critical failure effect on them. But it's the type of thing where you can still succeed and get a negative effect. But what they did is this was what my problem was with the Genesis system. Every single roll had all this like meta stuff onto it. It's like, well, I succeeded, but I got 6 points of this, so should I cash that in, or what happens? And with this, it's more along the lines of, they're like, hey, this seems like a cool scene for something weird to happen. So why don't we add that opportunity dice? And it gives you a better chance of rolling criticals and all sorts of other things, but it's when you decide you want to up the narrative aspects of it. Otherwise, it plays way more like the D&D aspect of it. I thought that was cool, because that's what completely threw me off of the Genesis thing. Is me and Matt played it a few times with some other friends, and after like every roll, we're just like, oh, there's all this extra like meta information being done here. What do we do with this? And it stalled the game out trying to be narrative, which seems like the opposite of what they wanted to do. And this feels like, like, oh, hey, you're like, you're trying to talk your way past a guard, make a roll, and it's like, oh, you failed, and someone else is like, I'll step up and I'll do something. It's like, okay, well, now it's the guard's already pissed at you. Now, why don't you roll with this silly dice and see what happens? Type of thing. Like I like that aspect of it. And I think that's kind of in a nutshell what it feels like a lot of their stuff is. There's all these mechanics, and then they're like, hey, the mechanics are trying to feed doing role playing, as opposed to saying they're a narrative game but having a lot of mechanics that's trying to push the narrative. It's like, hey, you decide when you want to do extra stuff, and if you want to play the game and not do all the funny stuff, don't roll that dice.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. Or if you want to do it once per session, cool. If you want to do it every other roll, that's cool. It's whatever you guys want to do, type of a thing. I like that.
That's cool. Yeah, wow, that does sound promising. That's interesting. That reminds me, we played a session of Rifts, I think it was, where you're the I forget what that you're some sort of knights, and yeah, you kind of have an awakening, and when you realize that the worlds have been breached, and so yeah, it had that same sort of thing where you narratively decide when you're called, where you're given this power and called to kind of control, move between worlds and control things. So that's interesting. I like that they made that narrative, and they made that an important part. Something that was important in the fiction actually works in the mechanics of the RPG. I guess a lot of people agree.
Yeah, and I think that's what. I mean, again, I've only seen stuff they've talked about, right, and read some quick play stuff. But as a result of this, I think that like when they do Mistborn, I think the non-magical classes are probably going to fundamentally be the same. It would be interchangeable between all the different settings, right? Because they're very like, you're an envoy, you're a diplomat, you're a warrior. It's like the they call them heroic classes, but just you don't have magic powers thing. And then if you're playing Mistborn, then you could choose to level up into being a Mistling or whatever it is and get some powers, or you can just be a normal dude running around with all these like superhero type guys if you want. And I think that they're like, they'll have more crazy supernatural power, but I feel like from what they pitched and from the little bit I've seen, that you're not going to be like they'll be more powerful, but it won't be like, oh my goodness, we have one guy who's playing as a Knight Radiant, and then this guy over here is just a noble. He can't even do anything. It's like, no, there's definitely some stuff. This guy has some cool magic abilities, but like, it's not going to completely overshadow everything, which I think is what they kind of said, like, their worry is that there's a couple characters in the books who, like, it's kind of funny in the Stormlight Archives, it seems like everybody becomes a a Knight Radiant basically in the books. It seems like,
Mm-hmm.
except for one guy, Adolin, who's like the amazing duelist prince. Like he would be the protagonist in most stories, but he's like the love interest in this one because of everyone else is being crazy, and he's having a crisis through the whole thing. So he's just like, I was the most awesome guy ever. I was this amazing duelist and this great warrior and everything, and now like everyone can fly and shoot energy, and I'm a duelist, right? But like he's still hanging out and trying to participate. And it's like I think having that be an option in the game is cool, and I can definitely see, like, I could definitely, the way Matt likes to play stuff, I would definitely see me being a Knight Radiant and Matt being, the scoundrel type of thing, guy who's just sitting there just shaking his fist at me the whole time type of thing. I could definitely see a game like that and not have that other character feel like, oh, I really can't, like, this is a fun shtick, but I can't help. It's like, no, I think you're going to be able to still play the game type of a thing.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I wonder where because everything sounds good about the game so far, about the system. So I wonder if it's fans of the books that are excited about having, like a world guide and trying a tabletop RPG, based on this, or if it's, RPG fans that are looking for something, different, a different setting and different mechanics. Probably his book fans are driving this because it's going to probably be over $5 million. Maybe as we're recording this, it's probably over $5 million. The take, but
it's at $6 million right now. I just bring up the page.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going.
Oh, wow. So the band knows how to generate crowdfunding. I love the. Did you see that video that he did after the pandemic and said it was a very difficult time, and hey, I wrote 4 novels. And that was the beginning of the. That's the beginning of him kind of taking over.
And that's the thing with him, at least, is he is a workhorse. I mean, that guy puts out material. He already has years planned. Like, he's like, okay, the next book's going to be in like 5 years or whatever it is, because I have this book and this book and this book and this book he has to write. And he usually hits all of his deadlines and writes extra books. So, yeah, like it's impressive. And I think that's why this is, again, so interesting to me is there was a Mistborn RPG-ish game that came out a little while ago. And like, actually, in one of the interviews I was watching with him, they're talking about part of the thing of why they didn't announce originally that it was going to be a Cosmere RPG is they were waiting for that license to elapse.
Right.
And then they also were like, hey guys, is it cool that we're like, and they kind of checked in with that company and were like, hey, we're going to be making a Mistborn RPG and it's going to directly compete with what all the stuff that we just did. Is that cool? And like kind of waited for like their kind of approval and being cool with everything, because it seems like overall he's trying to do ethical publishing and everything. So it seems like that's an important thing.
Yeah, that's
at least outwardly that he's working on.
Right. Yeah, I think we mentioned that in a previous episode that they were in touch with the company. There is a previous Mistborn RPG, and then they the company put it on sale, and basically this the development of these new games brought some attention to that, so they made some sales before the end of the before the license lapsed, and
that's cool.
Yeah, so it was done very in a very kind way. It wasn't like someone just stepping on toes or revoking licenses, just to make the money. But that company has to be really be kicking themselves. Why didn't we make millions on Kickstarter when we launched this? Because I think they did it in a totally traditional tabletop way, and didn't have the same attention. And I guess it really seems like he's kind of broken the system. He's like too prolific for traditional publishing, so he's kind of just moved into doing it himself and working directly with the fans, and it seems to be going okay.
Well, he strong-armed Audible. I don't know how it all turned out in,
right.
But he for all of his secret project books, things that he wasn't under contract, he said, I don't like the way Audible does stuff, I'm not going to release it on there. And then after like 6 months, Audible came to him and was like, well, how if we start offering, because his whole thing was not for him, it was for other authors. They were like, okay, what if we increase the amount we give them and stuff? He's like, all right, cool, I'll release it on Audible then. Like, it was like he has enough power to force some of the big, Amazon, right? Isn't Audible through Amazon?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, he got Amazon to change the split. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, that's wow. Yeah.
Now, I don't know. I know that when he announced all this, it hadn't like 100% gone through. So I don't know what the final result of that is. Maybe they reneged on it, and who knows? But
well, it is, it
like,
is Amazon.
the fact that he was actually like, "Hey, I'm going to take a cut," because I mean, he's doing okay, I think. He's like, "I'm going to take a cut and try to help the industry out, like in terms of the individuals." Was a cool thing, and that's what kind of leads me to with this is that the fact that he's like, "Hey, as I release stuff, we're going to add to it. I want this to be kind of the thing that runs alongside all my books and novels," and he has a billion. The setting, the Cosmere has, I mean, in theory, infinite worlds, but I think there's 16 shards of the god things, and there's usually one or two on every planet. So like, he has 8 to 10 magic setting worlds, and by the time he gets through it all, he'll be like, well, now I've done Mistborn Era 3, so now we can release stuff. So I feel like, it's going to be something that's going to be out every year. There's going to be a new thing for it.
Right. Wow.
Which can be cool and can lead to burnout, but it depends on how they handle it. And so far, it seems like he really knows how to walk that razor's edge to keep people incredibly interested without overdoing it. And he's also very much like the type that when you see him talk about stuff, he's like, this is, like the crazy leather-bound yakety schmack. He's like, you don't need to buy these. These are really expensive. And for the crazy fan, just go buy the paperback. But if you want to spend $500 on a leather-bound tome of all 3 of these books, give me the money. That's cool. We'll do it.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And hopefully working with Brotherwise, they'll be able to come up with a good release schedule that's not going to flood players and game groups with too much content or stuff that they'll never buy. So it'll be an interesting thing to see, and maybe a good example for other settings or other people to create RPGs based on their worlds. We will see.
Because I don't know, has Brotherwise made any other RPGs before?
I can't remember their history. I didn't look them up, but we'll find out.
I mean, I know the teams from like somebody was like lead on Genesis and some
right.
For the D&D modding community. Like the team they brought in was a bunch of people who've done it.
Right. Yeah,
but I know
maybe just a group of veterans.
I don't think they've done anything though before.
Wow. So if this is their first project, what a first project. I hope I hope they're ready. Yeah. Wow. Well,
and again, like I'm hoping because Sanderson's so involved that it's well done, because completely separate IP. I don't know who did it all. I have to go grab the book, but Power Rangers, Transformers, My Little Pony, and something else is all. I mean, it's all owned by Hasbro, but there's another company that was releasing RPG books. And at the time, I was playing board games with a friend who was really into Power Rangers. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy the Power Rangers RPG. We'll see what this is all about. That book was, as printed, was unplayable. It was missing. Literally, tables were missing from it. There was like things that didn't make any sense. They referred to like kind of armor one way and then they used different words and referred to like there was no editing. I'm like, this is they've released PDFs with corrections and everything, but as someone who only plays usually with hardbound books, I was like, well, I'm not buying any of the rest of your stuff. You released this like huge Kickstarter thing, and it's not like there's a typo or something. It's like, no, like they didn't copy and paste one of the Excel tables. Like it's listing weapons, and then it just the table's empty.
Wow!
It's just an empty table with blanks in it, and you're like, how did this get past? If you just flip through the book, you can see these pages are wrong. How did you guys get to printing? So that's completely turned me off of all their stuff. I'm like, all the other IP stuff from my childhood that maybe I would have some nostalgia for. I don't care about it because I feel like you don't care about releasing anything for it.
Right.
This, I'm hoping we'll see what happens in a year when the books come out. I'm assuming that they're going to be. I mean, he's an author, and he's very tied in with this. So I'm assuming that it's going to have good quality control and be like most good books. The question is, does the system actually work as reported, and how's the minutia layout type of being? Because it could be another Star Trek thing where it's just like this book. Is unusable in its current form. Not because the data isn't there, but because it's too much data.
Right. Yeah, because they're doing several books. For Stormlight. So we'll see. That's Renegade. Renegade Game Studios is who did the Hasbro stuff. They did the crossover. It got some notice at the ENNIES, the adventure crossover source book for Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, and Transformers.
Right, and then that's what it was a friend who really isn't into all to the role playing and board game stuff, but he collects all the figurines and stuff like that. So we're like, he was playing a little bit with us. So I'm like, all right, let's, we got the Power Rangers board game to play with him, something like that. We're like, all right, let's do this. And then I flipped the book open and I was just like, oh, never mind. I can't run this. And like Renegade's done other RPGs, and they were okay. Like they weren't missing important data. And to my understanding, the next one, which I think was G.I. Joe or something like that, they like right before they released it, they decided to cut out the section on ninjas or something, and that had rules on how certain parts of the game work. So like again, the book was released without all the mechanics in it, and it's like, well, why did you cut that out? Probably because they thought they could release a ninja book later on. And it makes sense if you're going to do an expansion. Everyone loves ninjas, but it's like,
wow,
make a functional product. So anyways, that's my rant about things that aren't at all the Cosmere. But
no, but
I'm hoping it won't happen.
We can use that to segue into the ENnie Awards. Yeah, so it talked a little bit about. So I'll put a link to the campaign for the Cosmere RPG. And,
really need your support. They really need.
Yeah, I know. They're, help these guys out. They seem to be struggling. I mean, $5 million. What the hell are you going to do with that? That's nothing. Especially to make a coffee table book. But the ENNIES. So at the this past Gen Con, the last Friday, were the ENnie Awards. There was a little ceremony, and the winners were announced. And one of the judges' spotlight did mention the Essence 20 role-playing system field guide to action and adventure, which was the crossover G.I. Joe, Transformers, Power Rangers stuff. Yeah, it seems like with some of these studios, they're employing, like, they don't have any employees. It's just like this, like, it's a bunch of contractors. Like, everybody is remote and everybody is just contributing work. So they really need a team that's assembling and good editors and everything. And it seems like maybe Renegade doesn't have that. Yeah, they're just making some decisions.
Yeah, because like I said, they've had other RPG systems. So I would think that but maybe that was the same way. Maybe just that team was self-sufficient and could get it all done.
Right.
But,
yeah, something may have happened. Yeah. Yes. So a few of the winners for the ENnies. So Best Adventure long form, the gold went to Delta Green, God's Teeth. Best Adventure short form went to Eat the Reich. So Eat the Reich had quite an appearance. That's the Rowan, Rook, and Deckard game with by Grant Hewitt or Howitt. That is basically vampires eating German National Socialists. So you basically World War II, you're vampires fighting in weird World War II. And best cover art also went to Eat the Reich. That was Will Kirkby. Best cartography, Dragonbane, their core set, the maps for their core set. That's Francesca Berold and Nicholas Brandt. And best game, silver went to Outgunned, so Two Little Mice. So I'm glad they're getting some good attention. And one game that really cleaned up by the Arcane Library is Shadow Dark. So Shadow Dark RPG by Kelsey Dion did well. So they got I think rules and best game and product of the year. Best rules. They really cleaned up. Best supplement, the Alien RPG for Free League. They're Building Better Worlds, so they're Colonist supplement. And product of the year, again, silver went to Outgunned, and gold went to Shadow Dark. So just a few games really did well.
What Shadow Dark's one of those games that I haven't delved into very much. It's everywhere. Yes. Everyone's super excited about it.
Right.
I'm not mad at it at all, but I'm trying to figure out why it's
I'm
the darling it is, because it's just a D20 like OCR, not OCR, OSR,
right.
Like style game. Looks like it could be fun. I'm just trying to figure out like why it's so.
Yeah. They must have. Yeah, they must have just like touched on all the right things. They got the grim dark thing going, and because the criticisms I've heard of it is the magic is very deadly. So at very low levels, you can kill casters very easily. You've got like a 12% and up to like 20% chance of killing your magic user at all levels, but especially at low levels. So it seems to be difficult to really get in there. But yeah, I haven't had met anybody that's really gushing about it, so I'm not sure what exactly the big attraction is, and I'm not sure. Yeah, I
Is
don't
it the
even.
OSR crowd that's supporting it then?
I think so. Yeah, I think they went all in hard. As this is our game, and they must have just done everything right. They probably just touched on everything, just the way it's rules light enough, and it's whatever the what they did was satisfying, I think. But yeah,
well, I know
sure.
the lady that wrote it. I mean, she has a big presence online too, and has been involved with things. And I mean, she has some lineage of playing with Gygax or those types of back in
that might be
years ago type of thing. And it seems like she's very much it's interesting because she's very modern sensibilities, but with OSR stuff. So maybe that's it too. Maybe it's finding the right balance of new, just the right mix in with the old to make everyone or the right group happy type of a thing.
Yeah, I think so. So it probably was the personality involved and they're kind of how they interpreted it. Yeah, so I want to. I didn't back Shadow Dark, so I'm curious once it's all out to see how well it's sustained. How it because it's definitely cleaning up with the awards. So we'll see how much people are actually going to be playing it. But
because I think that she's released a solo.
Oh, nice
thing for it and a bunch of other stuff. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely popular. I see it popping up everywhere. Like I said, I'm not angry at it. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just trying to figure out what made it so so huge for what it was, right? And that's just well, good on him, but why? I wonder. I guess it's where I'm at.
Right. Yeah. I need to I'll watch a little bit more about it and actually get a copy of the rules and see what because there is so much good OSR stuff out there. It's amazing that something could distinguish itself. So maybe the pedigree plus just what they got rid of and what they included makes it just about right. But how about another game that nobody is talking about in very positive ways yet? So the 2024 revision of D&D 5th edition, the Player's Handbook has already hit reviewers. People have been getting their complimentary copies of it, and they've been doing some videos and sharing on YouTube a little bit what they find between the covers of this new Player's Handbook. And then Wizards of the Coast decides to give them copyright strikes on their channels because their unclear moratorium of what could be said and could not be said, basically the review embargo, which expired on August 1st, should have made it clear that anybody can talk about anything now because it's kind of out in the wild, but not for Wizards of the Coast. So a few of the bigger D&D YouTubers got hit with copyright strikes, and on YouTube 3 strikes and your channel's gone. So yeah, that's not great. After 3 strikes you can have your channel terminated just automatically by YouTube, but there's also a kind of appeals process. So for example, Nerd Immersion showed off the table of contents and was taken down.
They shouldn't have done that. Nope, that was a mistake.
And D&D Shorts did a 100% walkthrough and they were taken down. And Lord Junkie, I don't know how to say this, Jorfton, I haven't seen his stuff, but Jorfton was hit with a copyright for just doing a flip through video, which they assumed was okay. And Jorfton said on social media, despite fulfilling Wizards D&D's request for the flip-through video, I was issued a copyright strike from my channel. 3 strikes terminates my channel. I don't think I'm going over the 2024 Player's Handbook. I don't think it's worth going over it, losing my channel that I've been working on since 2017. Yeah, I don't think it's worth anybody losing their channel. So Mike Shea, the sly flourish of the Lazy DM Guides, had to blur the pages of his video. There was some racy content. So he did a flip through and then ended up blurring the pages on the video so that it didn't get the strike. So this does really sour the this release if they're going to be so strict about this. I mean, this is the same company that, of course, called in the Pinkertons when somebody had magic cards they weren't supposed to have. So, will
It,
they jump the gun a little bit. I don't think there's good communication between the departments of, like, whatever, the legal department and upholding their licenses, and there's some pretty trigger happy lawyers, I think, working for.
yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's a corporation that's pushing a small branch of it to either pay big or get out,
Mm-hmm.
and then they also are still handling everything the way they handle things 20 years ago, 50 years ago, not realizing that that's not how at least this specific brand
Mm-hmm.
operates.
Yeah.
like I mean, D&D is what it is mostly because of its internet presence right now, right? It's like,
Right.
I mean, there's a ton of people that release daily, if not or weekly, if not daily,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube videos talking about D&D,
Yeah.
and it's like that's what I mean. You can argue the Critical Role, and people say Stranger Things, and like everything else that's going on with it, but it still isn't like its own beast that doesn't need anything. It's still
Right.
standing on top of all this other stuff, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still confused on why people like. I'm not the one who's incredibly furious about the whole OGL and all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were dumb, and I've soured on them. But I understand that it's a catch. It's a YouTube catch, right? There's people who have over the last 10 years made probably an okay living, if not a good living, or maybe just a scrape by living, just flipping through D&D books and talking about weird mechanics and stuff, right? I mean, there's so many channels that are just like, hey, if you do this and this, and you cast this cantrip, and you do this thing, look what happens. And
Right.
that's literally what their entire channel is, right? And it's like that. Sometimes that's amusing to watch. After a while, I get bored with it, but it's fun to watch. Like it's someone super excited about some hilarious rules example.
Right.
It's like, all right, that's great. But that's what. It's that it's 1,000 of those people that's fueling the current D&D thing. So it's a corporation that doesn't understand its thing and probably doesn't even realize, like, I don't know if the arm that did these copyright strikes is even aware of the controversy around the fact that they did the copyright strikes, right? Like, are the people who sent the Pinkertons, do they even know that Magic people are upset about that?
Right.
Are Magic people that's the other thing. Are Magic people still upset about that? Like, we're also just like, everyone's outraged, but the
sales are
people are still buying all the books and doing everything.
Yeah. No.
So it's kind of like, well, if you're gonna keep messing with the lion, like that, it's the Scorpion the Frog thing, right? Like, you're like, oh, that is your nature. Okay, well, why do I keep letting you sting me?
Right.
No, you can't ride on my back. Get off of me. Like.
Yeah, and if all of this bad press hasn't affected their stock prices or their profits, it doesn't matter. Yeah, they're not going to change. So it's a very funny situation, because these are the cheerleaders. These are the people that are promoting their stuff, and they're doing it in an honest way. They're not. I mean, they're obviously being supported. They're given materials and things early. And maybe not understanding the nature of social media, and especially a platform like YouTube, where you want to be the first one out there. The first one to release a video makes the money. And so there is a race, and people are going to literally, you tell them a date, and they're going to be at 12:01, 1 minute after midnight, they're going to be releasing their video. They don't understand maybe the nature of how people are promoting things. And it's very funny. I don't think they understand, or maybe they don't care, because there's probably people waiting, people that are probably much easier to pay off, that would much more willing to be shills for wizards, are waiting in the wings, and some of the people that have a more honest opinion of the stuff that they're releasing. They don't care. But
well, yeah, and even like I think it's the D&D Shorts guy.
Mm-hmm.
He made a video like saying, "Hey, I want you guys to know they sent me the 2024 Player's Handbook. I don't think it's right because they gave this to me. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to make money off of it. So all money I make for these next 3 videos is going to charity, right? So like literally, even like the copyright strike for him making money was just money he was for those videos was going directly to charity, because he felt like he wanted to present himself in a way that people would believe he was being authentic. And it's like, wow, you guys even at this point they're not even. It's not like you can't even say like he was trying to take advantage of them in that way because he was already passing the money on to somebody else. So yeah, it's just interesting.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's anybody who's actually involved with the actual like it's people at Wizards, but I don't think it's the people who are actually doing the D&D stuff, right? Like that's the thing is I don't think those guys have any connection to any of this, and they have to just sit there and smile and be like, no man, this is a really fun game and we're really having fun making it, even though
just don't talk about it before the date.
Or after it.
Yeah, or after, yeah. When you're supposed to. Yeah, and it was somebody showed an example of the email they got from Wizards of the Coast to kind of clarify what they can and can't do, what they can and can't show, and when. And they gave them a completely incoherent answer that, it was just like, okay, that doesn't answer any of my questions, doesn't solve anything. I'm still, hanging out here waiting for a, copyright strike. And it's funny that, it's not a cease and desist, it's a strike on your channel, so it's a much more, serious thing for the on the YouTube platform where even if you comply, it's already there. But fortunately, the strikes have been resolved. Jorfton, his copyright strike was cleared up, so it was released, and so he doesn't have that strike hanging over his head. And Mike Shea, the Sly Flourish, did say on social media, so talked about he's the one that blurred the pages. He said, yes, it's complete bullshit, but we must all do our part to ensure a $4 billion company maximizes its shareholder value. So yeah, people are very pissed off that they can't participate in the new release of this game that they enjoy and not feel that cold corporate, fingers clutch. Came back. And maybe we're back. I might have to...
Yep, it's going again. Oh.
Okay. What's going on? Sorry. Well, moving on. If you can hear us. Let's see. Yeah, I'm still... Let me move up. Oh, yeah. It's frozen.
It's funny, the TV's playing because that's on top, but the video feed of you is frozen.
So maybe on my camera. Okay, yeah, maybe on my camera. Let me turn on and off the camera. But yes, so I may be out. So anyhow, so we still got audio, so let's continue here.
Okay.
So the next thing on our list to talk about. The last thing I wanted to mention that I thought was very cool. Oh, there we go. I think I'm back. That I thought was very cool. We missed this on our week off. I missed this, but Mantic is doing something interesting, and we've mentioned previously their vault that they're doing, where they're putting STLs and a lot of supporting either things like Armada or doing upgrade kits for things that would have been released in resin. For their hard plastic kits, they're releasing as STLs, so you can print them at home if you're a subscriber to their vault. So they're trying something else that's very different. So Deadzone Infestation, their sci-fi skirmish game from 2015, is in its fantastic third edition. They called it their fantastic third edition. So there was an update on the Kickstarter page, and I think they duplicated it on a couple of their other campaigns. And they said, yes, we've got a third edition of Deadzone, and it's their Summer of Sci-Fi. So they've been promoting their Halo skirmish game that they released at Gen Con, or I think it was crowdfunded, and they had samples of it at Gen Con. But to keep supporting this Summer of Sci-Fi, they're doing Asterian Ciphers and Matsudan Warriors in hard plastic kits, which I think were previously their factions from Deadzone that were previously only resin. And they are trying something with My Mini Factory. So My Mini Factory has a crowdfunding platform that they call a Frontier. And basically fans can back a campaign, and depending on the total level of support, it will unlock additional things. So they're welcoming fans to try 3D printing. So all of the new sculpts that I think will also be released on their Vault platform, probably kind of in monthly releases, are going to be available as kind of pledge levels on Frontier. So Frontier is similar. So they call stretch goals milestones. So they'll have milestones, and as the total amount of support reaches things, they will release different ranges. So you'll have fast access to miniatures if you can 3D print them, and a lot of freebies. So they'll be giving you rules and things. But this, in no way is going to take away from what they're going to do. They're still printing physical kits and the new factions in hard plastic for Deadzone, but this is a way to get them early. And I think it's kind of they're testing the waters for what a pure digital release might look like. And so using My Mini Factory, which is a really great platform, once you have an account, and anybody that you support, either on Patreon or through their Tribes, I believe it's called, system, those files just automatically go into your library. So it's a very nice system. But so far, they've got about over 400 backers, what they call pioneers. So Frontier and Pioneers, I'm not sure about the naming, but there's about 10 days left now on the campaign, and it's too bad it's not like a kind of an endless campaign. But maybe they want to just gauge within a certain amount of time what kind of response they get. So they've raised about $37,000. And have different milestones like terrain. They're unlocking more terrain, more scatter terrain, different strike teams for various factions. And of course, the game is this third edition of the game is also supported with gaming mats, dice, and you can get physical books, but they'll also be available. I know the archive will have the PDFs for free, the free rule set if you're a member of their vault. So yeah, they're doing a very, very interesting job. So this is kind of I think because they're a smaller company, they have maybe less to lose and maybe not shareholders to answer to, so they can kind of do experiments like this. This is an interesting thing. So yeah, a frontier on My Mini Factory for specifically for Deadzone, the new release of factions and miniatures for Mantic's Deadzone.
So, this is a fully functional. Like I'm somewhat outside of this branch of the hobby, so it is. This is something they're currently releasing, and they're doing this in addition to. So you can either buy the minis from them, or you can print them yourself. Type of thing.
Yeah, this is just a faster way, because I think it's going to take time for them to tool and cast and then release, in boxes at retail these factions. But what they're it seems like what they're trying to do is give you access earlier and see if you're willing to pledge, for at different levels for earlier access to what's going to be released. And I think, choosing one of their smaller games. So this is a small skirmish game, like 5 to 10 models aside. And it does have a lot of terrain. They have like a terrain system with like little clips that kind of, you can do customized terrain. So they're experimenting with that, because I think it's good to test the waters on a smaller scale. I think releasing, like doing a whole large scale armies all on STLs might end up that those files just get out in the wild and it just becomes a mess. But this will be an interesting test, because they will be releasing, so people will have access to these STL files, which you can slice and use for, on your 3D printer. And then they're going to be able to see how that affects the hard plastic, boxed retail sales of these different miniatures. So if it offsets some of the production cost, or if it completely kills the retail sales. So we'll see what this does. And I think maybe they don't even know themselves. So this seems to be an interesting experiment. And I'm glad to see a company doing something like this. I think Mantic was really the first to go in and say, yeah, we're going to put stuff out there, stuff that we were releasing in resin, which isn't everybody's favorite material. Stuff that we were releasing only in resin, we're going to release as STLs. And so that's why Armada, their fantasy kind of ship battle game, got the first treatment. So basically you can get almost all of the older factions for Armada are available on the Mantic Vault.
So is the Vault like a subscription service that you're paying for?
It's a monthly subscription that has like a number of models that they release, and the release like spans all of their fantasy, their sci-fi, a little bit of everything in every release. So they can kind of stagger things out, to keep you subscribing longer. They can, put different scale ships or different, units from different armies out on the release.
I think it makes sense. I think it could be a good model, because especially if you're releasing stuff regularly. So I mean, don't get me wrong, you can always wait and not pay for it for 6 months and then subscribe again probably and get all the backlog and all. I mean, sure, there's ways to try to game it,
Right.
but this is. I mean, I've seen it quite a bit with just companies that are just doing miniatures for role playing games, where you buy it and like, yeah, we released, this week's elves, next month is dwarves, and after that we're doing treants, and like they just every month they release a new set of things. This feels like it's doing that, plus you have a game going along with it. I don't know. I think it could work. I wonder though, like, this is me being a grumpy person from the outside. I wonder though if it's everything's becoming subscription services. You know what I'm saying, man?
Yeah.
But,
no, that's true.
But at the same time, if it's a subscription service that you're like, if this is your game, right? Then I don't know. It could be very cool to just have new stuff all the time. You basically, in a way, you feel like you have everything, and you're just like, oh, I want to field these things.
Right.
You don't need to buy everything as it comes out. You print the 3 things you want, a month in advance, and then do the painting, and then like you're saying, at least for this, it's a small skirmish game, so it depends on how much. I mean, I paint things solid colors, but still, if you're doing a good job with painting, it's still that's half the fun type of thing. Plus, you can just have access to everything.
Right.
That's
I think this
seems way better than the way that it's currently going for most other stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think this is an interesting approach, because I think they've been doing the Vault for almost 2 years now, I think about a year and a half. And so they know those numbers, and maybe they're testing to see, okay, what if we give you everything all at once for one price? So, do you want to pay a monthly to get, so that we kind of piecemeal, feed these to you over the course of a year? Or do you want, like a crowdfunder, us to give you everything all at once, and so you can, go crazy, printing it or building armies immediately? So this might be kind of testing, which model works better for digital models for STL releases. So I wish them well. I've been a subscriber to the Vault since the beginning, and they have a nice kind of package where you can get their full rule sets and army lists digitally for a lower price. Their companion app, access to that with the Vault for a lower price. I'm not sure if that's still, but when they did the launch, that was their nice package. So it's a very, very good deal to have the rules for every one of their game systems, all of the army lists, constantly updated because it's digital, with their with access to their digital files, and because they're never going to be doing business on the scale of a Games Workshop. I think it's good to see them experimenting and finding out how customers really want to access their products. So good on them.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish, and it's probably making them decent money because it's got built-in audiences, and that's why they're doing it. But Mantic is also leaning in pretty heavily to the licensed IP, because they're doing the Halo game, and then they're doing a Worms Armageddon game, which is that little PC worms killing each other game, and then also a Labyrinth. They're doing a Labyrinth board game, so they're balancing between like board games and then war games of different scales. So I wish they would focus everything on what they're doing with their fantasy and sci-fi lines, but that must be some money there. There must be money that because those maybe those smaller projects too, somebody like Games Workshop wouldn't touch, because that's why originally Games Workshop bought the license, or did the license for Lord of the Rings when the Peter Jackson movies were out. They said, we've got to get this license, because if we don't, somebody else will, and that's going to eat into our fantasy game sales. So that's I think that might be Mantic's thinking, is they can do this, and if they don't do it, somebody else will. So don't leave money on the table when you already have the whole mechanism for casting minis and producing games.
Well, and if you're going to explore, you have to. If it's something like that, I'm imagining that IPs aren't. Not everything is Star Wars that somehow everyone hates, but everyone still buys all the stuff, right? But most IPs, think about Game of Thrones, right? I mean, there's a new TV series. People are generally, I think they're generally liking it, but think of what it was, at season 5 of the show, and then think about it at the end of the show.
Shortened season 8, yeah, right. Yeah,
that's how it went from the thing that everyone was talking about, it was a big deal and it was everywhere, to the day after the the finale, everyone's like, oh well, okay, done. And like I don't hear anyone talk about it. No one cares.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't think that most IPs can survive things, so it makes sense if you have stuff that's kind of smaller and you're not sure and it has a loyal fan base to be like, well, this is the one to try it out with because we only have, I don't know, 1,000, 100, 10,000. I don't know what the base is for anything, but like these people and they're interested in a thing, and we probably have a direct line with them, so we can very easily read with this small group of people how they feel, and we can test that out for something that maybe you don't want to burn. Like, you don't want to buy a Lord of the Rings or even a Star Wars or anything like that, and then turn around and do some weird approach with it and have it collapse, and you've paid some ridiculous figures of money to have access to it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see if this succeeds, and it'll be good. It'll be good to have high quality, an established game with a decent rule set. And being able to print your own minis. We'll see what that does to the market. Because, shipping things now, like, having to do distribution and maintain inventory and stuff, sounds like it's a lot more expensive than it used to be. So, that's going to do it for this week. So, Will, thank you so much for co-hosting. Is there anything that you would like people to know about? Anything that's out there? You have anything on Drive-Thru or any stuff you want people to read? Social media? Anything?
No. You know what? I don't do any social media except for, none. And then I haven't made anything to Drive-Thru. No, I have nothing to promote. I'm here just for the love of the game.
Oh my God! Well, thank you.
For the love of the game.
Well, I appreciate your perspective on the Cosmere, because I wasn't as familiar with it. So I'm glad to hear. Another opinion. And if you'd like to hear Will, he will be one of the player characters on the Vaesen RPG actual play that we'll be releasing over this next week. So, exciting Axel and Nils' exciting adventures in the in mythic Scandinavia of the 19th century. And I just completed the live stream for my cartoon. So Abuse Cartoons is something I do, and that the live stream shows up on this channel, and as well as the Abuse Cartoons channel on YouTube and Twitch. And it's where I excuse me, draw my cartoon and just chat and eat snacks from Japanese convenience stores and all that good stuff. So you can find that on Abuse Cartoons, but if you subscribe to this channel as well, you'll get a notice when that goes up. And so it's a longer live stream that just happens once a month. So August just finished, so look forward to September. But if you like what we're doing here on the weekly, consider becoming a weekling. You can do that at patreon.com/upturntable and pledge at any of the tiers. But if you're on the weekly level, we'll know that you want to what you want to hear. You can tell us what you want to hear on this podcast, this kind of roundup of different topics on tabletop every week. And so we'll be back again next week. Upturntable.com is where you can find everything that we're doing. We're releasing actual plays, and as I told some of the patrons, kind of promising them different ways to listen to the actual plays, I'll be releasing just the audio onto our basic RSS, our podcast RSS feed, so you'll be able to hear that on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you do. And I'll do those in larger chunks, because the thing that I didn't want to do with the episodes, I don't mind, on YouTube kind of releasing things daily, but when you release too many things at once on an RSS feed, it kind of clutters it up a bit. So I'm going to do these in larger pieces, so multiple hours, like 2 or 3 sessions in one piece for the audio. So look for that for both the John Carter and then the Vaesen releases. And thanks for watching and listening, and we'll be back again next week. Thanks again, Will, for co-hosting, and see you tomorrow for some. Thanks. Yeah, see you tomorrow for some Dune. Are you ready?
I'm never ready, okay. But that's the fun.
All right, so see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right. So cool. So yeah, appreciate it, Will. I'm glad you could fill in, and it's good. Yeah, familiar voice on the channel is good. But yeah, and good to see everybody in the chat. Miguel's in. Orcus, I can't believe you're still alive. Oh, and Hodog RPG says hello, and I think he agreed with your Genesis, your opinion on Genesis. Will.
Too much shenanigans, hard to follow.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like reading the bones. Yeah, some kind of
crazy, that's it exactly.
Crazy magic. It's like, okay,
every roll.
Yeah, right. And Agent Carolina says, "What is up with the TV screen?" Well, the couldn't get the cable working for Will, so we're just going with the scrambled porn look on the TV. Yeah, Hodog said, "Cannot agree more about the Genesis system being wonky." Nice. Yeah, we don't have. This is Will TV. Yeah, Will TV. You need a special subscription to get a clear picture of Will TV. You only get audio. If you don't pay the extra. So we didn't pay the extra. Yeah, Will. That's right. Will, they're saying Will must have overdosed on spice. Oh, nice. Yeah, people have been listening to the Dune actual play. Nice. Very good. Oh yeah, so we'll pick up tomorrow with that. But Matt will be out. Matt will be out this weekend. So we're going to do another 2-player adventure, and you guys are going to have to deliver Pardit Kynes back to Arrakis, and wackiness will ensue, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know how Tars and Kel will.
Yeah.
Like I'm usually bouncing off of Jack.
Yep.
Me and Matt usually are bouncing off each other, and Terry's always like the solid, just,
right?
Like guy. So I feel like I'm going to do a lot of little Chihuahua running around his ankles. Probably when we're playing. I don't know.
Yeah, and you'll be Kel too. That's you won't even be Kel. You'll be the duplicate.
Playing is not me, pretending to be me. Okay.
Oh no. Yes. Nice. Yeah, good to see. Oh yeah, Miguel was like, "Damn, so much enthusiasm about Cosmere." Yeah. Will is a reader. I haven't read any Sanderson. Yeah, I haven't even gotten through the Wheel of Time to his stuff, so I haven't read any. I did read a few of the excerpts when he was doing that original the novel Kickstarter. I read some of the excerpts he posted, and his writing style is very readable. Like he's got a nice style. The writing, I just don't know, about the world building or anything.
Yeah, and I'm not to just continuously ramble about it, but yeah, that's kind of his. I mean, it's going to sound bad, but he's vanilla in a way. Like I don't know how to explain. Like he's a machine that puts out infinite stories, and they're all good. Right? Like I wouldn't say that like I've read. I mean, there's emotional stuff, and he deals with a lot of his stuff. Seems to be dealing a lot more with like emotional trauma and dealing with that. But his stuff isn't PG, but nothing he makes I've ever seen has been like R-rated either. Like he's right there in that middle vein, which I can understand why someone would be like, he's not for me. He doesn't quite go in the direction I want. But I don't know how you can be mad at what he writes. Right, you just might be like, this doesn't light a fire for me. I can totally see that, but it's kind of hard to be like, he does this, and it's like frustrating. Like all of his writing seems to just be in that solid vein. So
cool. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, nice. Hey, Agent Carolina, good to see you. And Orcus is back from Gen Con. Not sure how long I'll last before falling asleep. I can't imagine. You drove, Orcus. That's insane. Yeah, that's a lot of work. Wow. But yeah, I hope I can't wait to see videos and hear what you were up to. Yeah, hopefully maybe with the Gray Noise, if Matt's got a Gray Noise session organized, maybe we can have a Gen Con discussion. I'm curious to hear both both you and Nathan's opinions about how that was. Oh, Orcus was at a press event. They literally said, "Go forth and spread the word." Once it concluded, and then they gave them the book, the player's handbook. Oh my god! So you were proselytized. Yeah, you've joined the cult.
So
Wow.
so was it the actual images that they were getting copyright strikes on? The fact they were showing the book?
I guess, yeah. I mean, probably just because YouTube has that mechanism. There really isn't anything like if you posted some screenshots or whatever on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. I don't think there is the same kind of automated system to just say take it down, punish that person. It's a little more involved, so it may have just been a little trigger happy. Because they were handing out the books. Orcus said they were handing out the books, so it's not like it's like, oh, here's a free book, but obey the moratorium on talking about it. Yeah, it's so strange.
Yeah, that really sounds like a left hand not talking to the right hand.
Yeah.
Type of like.
And also different platforms having different mechanisms. Yeah, YouTube just, they had to automate everything because in the early days of YouTube, people were just posting television show episodes and movies and things. So they had to automate, to combat all the piracy in the early days. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the opinion. I saw Nathan on AARPG was posting some videos already with the content from Gen Con. Orcus says, I was going to say, Matt sounds and looks different. I need some rest. Yes, it's not just you're being so tired. It's actually Will. Oh, I can't imagine. Yeah, the drive back from the Midwest to California. I did that. I did New York to California for a move, but I would not do that multiple times. And
then try to, like, I mean, maybe you're there for work more, but and then trying to enjoy a convention,
right?
After the drive, and then for me, I'd be dreading the drive.
Yeah.
I'd be dreading. It'd be ruining the thing when I knew I was going to do the way back.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, and the conventions, I don't have experience with Gen Con, but Comic Con and anything that I did, like in internet, conventions and stuff. You get the hard run of just the floor and saying what to people over the din of discussing, but then you go out and have dinner and drink with those people after, so you're getting as little sleep as possible for as many days as possible, because the socializing, the deal making all happens over drinks, like between the days of the show. So that's the brutal part, because it really tests your your endurance. Nice. Oh, and Orcus says, Genesis only really worked for the Star Wars game. I never liked it for anything beyond that. Kind of like some people don't like Savage Worlds Beyond Deadlands. Maybe too, that it was like created too much with that in mind, and then just trying to take it and make it work for everything might have been a little bit of an overreach. Yeah, I'm curious, because I'd really like to go back and play the Android setting that the Netrunner card game was based in, because that was created by Fantasy Flight. That's now, now it's Embracer Group, basically, but Asmodee, and that uses Genesis systems. So, I mean, I guess that's closer to Star Wars, kind of, but I'd love to play that cyberpunk setting, but I'm not sure if I want to use Genesis to do it. Yeah,
it feels like the Genesis thing it's really like the make one roll to resolve everything type of system. Is how it feels like you should play it. I know it has like round attacks and stuff like that, but it feels like because I forget what they're called, but because you have that whole like bad stuff, good stuff points that on every single roll, it feels like you should be like, okay, I'm going to fight this big creature, and then you roll and you're like, all right, I succeeded and beat it, but I broke my arm. Like it's like feels like how you're supposed to resolve it, but when you do that for every, like, I take a step, okay, make a roll. Okay, I got 3. Okay, what bad opportunity could have happened? Oh, I make another roll, and it was too much.
Yeah, that's true, and that they'd have the dice rollers and stuff for it, because like things cancel each other out, right? So you roll all these dice, and then this cancels out this cancels out this. So what are we left with? And then we have to make sense narratively and mechanically of what that is. Yeah. So you have one minor success and one cataclysmic failure.
Yeah, because there was good and bad points, and then there was like the super good and super bad point. Right? That was on the dice too. If I remember right, I feel like it was like, I don't want to just keep harping on it because I think that the idea was good, but I just think that's one of those things that it needs to be like most roles. You should just ignore those or something, and maybe it would function smoother.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, it's good to see everybody in the chat, and yeah, nice. We will be back tomorrow for some actual play live stream. Yeah, so yeah, I'm curious how this will go. So you're cool. I know Matt is not cool with being on Arrakis, but is Kel cool with visiting Arrakis for a week?
I mean, Kel 2 is fine with it. It's not going to be a problem at all.
That's right. We're not even playing with Kel. You're playing alternate Kel. Oh, actually, yeah, maybe we should use your skin changer stats so that you have the capability of like skin changing if you need to. So yeah, that might be a useful thing.
Oh,
so,
that could be cool.
Yeah, I'll make you just like I did with Matt last week. I'll make you an alternate login, so there'll be like a will to log into. So then you can connect the skin changer character sheet that way.
Well, that'd be good too, because like then I'm trying to do all the like knowledge rolls all the time because that's what I'm always pushing Kel to do, and I'll be crappy at him. It'll be hilarious.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, you'll be incompetent Kel that can really that's really good with a knife. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, right. Orcus is saying, yeah, the Genesis is roll the dice and then have your hieroglyphic archaeologist decipher it. Yeah. Yeah, I think I used that the first time we talked about Genesis. I think I used that clip from Willow where they said, we'll consult the bones. And then he Billy Barty whispers, the bones tell us nothing. That's exactly how I felt rolling dice in Genesis. Roll the bones. Oh, man. Nice. All right. Well, yeah. Good to see everyone. So, yeah, I think, so any ideas? Do you have any opinion or any ideas what we should do after Dune, Will?
I don't know. I mean, again, because I somehow haven't watched any seminal films somehow. I don't know how that works, right. Or read any of the good books. I have watched the first of the most recent Dune movies now. Mm-hmm. So I have at least a movie touchstone for it.
Good.
I don't know. Yeah. I know Matt is interested in Outgunned.
Oh yeah. That'd be fun. Yeah, and try some of the action flicks. Yeah, that would be fun.
Might be fun for me to at some point try to run something, but I don't know how that would work. Mm-hmm. See about that. But I think I like building stuff, so I'd like to play. That's kind of why I like the Dune thing, right? Like, I don't feel like we're building specific things, but like there's some permanence there, and I kind of like that. I mean, how unlike most games that we played, how much damage have we done in that game? I mean, we've done like I don't think I've shot anyone or done anything bad.
Yeah.
The TARS guys got in one fight, like one honor duel, and I think we shot some guys. And that was like in one set, and it's like it's all been trying to figure stuff out. I've really been enjoying it. Mm-hmm. I do I do think I'm at heart. I'm like the tactical. It's funny how I didn't like fourth edition for some reason, but I like the tactical combat stuff. Uh-huh. But I don't know. It doesn't feel as fun if it isn't actually moving around the miniatures in real life. Like when we tried to do stuff before, maybe if we get the right VTT, we could do some more dungeon delvey. Let's fight some monsters stuff. Mm-hmm. That could be fun, but I don't know if that is as enjoyable for the group over the VTT stuff, as the more because with this stuff, that's why I really liked. I thought it was really interesting. It was just me and Matt playing with you because Matt would go and do something like when we played Blade Runner, right? Like there were scenes where neither one of us were in it, so I just got to sit there and listen and like imagine and also think about how I'd react to it. And I really enjoyed that stuff. So I don't know. I know I haven't really said anything yet, but I'm kind of all over the place. I would like to spread out. I've really enjoyed the Dune stuff, but I also like changing characters and killing them off and everything. So like I could see it'd be cool if we did another 10-year jump with Dune and
Oh.
I got to be some new guy who did something. It was connected to the house or married in or something like that. I mean, we could jump forward another 10 years and I could be the wife of Tar's kid. What's his like
Yeah,
we
right.
could do something like
Oh,
that,
yeah,
and
that
it
would be crazy. Yeah, that's right. You could play Tharis. Yeah, Taurus' kid is like 20 years old, and yeah, oh, that'd be really cool. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, we had a suggestion on the Patreon for Tales from the Loop, which is similar to Vaesen, so it's mysteries. Like, the adventures are mysteries that you're solving, but you're playing as kids. And it's a very nonviolent thing because, like, if you get scared or physically damaged, you just go home. Basically you go
right.
You seek safety. So there's no character death, but you can be ineffective because you could be knocked out of scenes. But yeah, so that might be fun. There's a lot of good support for alchemy for that on Alchemy. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what fits. But that is kids, and you're ineffective. You're like you've got a little gimmicky item, and you're kind of figuring out how to navigate these mysteries without machine guns and calling in calling in your group of house guard.
That's very similar though to like how we did Vaesen, right? I mean, we didn't. I mean, very rarely did we. I mean, I don't think ever. The one time we did fight the thing, we lost somebody.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It's very, very deadly. Yeah. I think Tales from the Loop is like that too. It's very easy. If you're too aggressive, it's very easy to get knocked out. It's a lot more, problem solving and like, finding your way around obstacles.
Is it kind of like 1-2 session long mini adventures?
Similar.
Same idea?
Yeah, similar. The mysteries are shorter. Yeah. We can kind of string them together. I think they have a campaign, and they're themed over the 4 seasons, so that's kind of interesting. So it kind of takes place like a year of these kids' lives, and kind of the
that is cool.
Yeah, campaigns are kind of connected. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, because we got Alien would be fun to do on Alchemy. It would be fun to do one of the cinematic adventures for Alien.
And I wouldn't mind a more nihilist, we're all gonna die type of thing, because so far. Yeah, I mean, because that gives you a whole other different vein of how we can come in as hotshot Marines or as people doing geological surveys or whatever it is we're going to be, and then we haven't had the whole like I'll throw myself on this thing and set the engines for overload to kill the alien, and that's my victory. Like we haven't really had a lot of stuff like that in any of the games we played, so it'd be fun to play something maybe that's that the characters are more disposable, for lack of a. I feel like we were supposed to do that more in Star Trek, not disposable, but in Star Trek, and you were pushing for it. And I don't think me and Matt and Terry bought into it at all. Of like, we're supposed to be a whole crew and we switch between characters. We didn't really do that very much on that. We pretty much ran.
Right.
I mean, I was the. I alternated out for like a session or whatever it was, but like we didn't really switch between characters and everything. So like, I there's some appeal to that. I think it'd be fun to find a thing where we pass off characters like that, where like I build up a character and then Matt's playing him for a session.
Oh yeah.
Like imagine if Matt was playing Kel and I was playing Jack.
Right.
Or if I was playing Art. Like that'd be a very interesting for us to try to like play those characters that way. Because it's not the way we normally function.
Yeah.
And it'd be cool to do that. So maybe Star Trek. I don't know. I'm all over the place.
Well, that's cool. Oh, Orcus said, Matt hasn't been sent to the gladiatorial arenas of Giddy Prime. Not yet. I think that's where he's vacationing while he's away on this session, though. Nice. Oh, and Orcus has a recommendation. So try the Hollows RPG. Oh, that's cool. I'll look that up. Yeah, that name's familiar, but I'm not connecting the system. Nice. Oh, and Carolina said, I'd be into a game that teaches realistic coping skills. My Paladin Crusader approach is a bit dated. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's the interesting thing of Tales from the Loop is it's set in, like your kids playing in not quite sure when this is, but it's kind of Scandinavia or it's kind of America at this setting, and nobody listens to you. All the adults think you're just, silly kids, and you can't explain anything to them. You can't really get across the threat that you're dealing with or the strangeness that is occurring. So it's a weird it's kids on bikes kind of weird X-Files Junior kind of stuff, but Yeah, we'll see. There's plenty of stuff, and Matt even brought up. He had me looking at the uh, Rise of the Rune Lords thing again because he brought up the Savage Pathfinder stuff. So Pathfinder with the Savage Worlds system running their original campaign would be fun. Yeah, we'll see. There's a ton of stuff out there. So we'll just
there's no shortage.
Yeah. We'll have to see what our mood fits and what everybody kind of sounds interested in. Nice. Yeah, so if you ran something, what would you run? Like, what's your one of your favorite games that you'd like to?
I don't know, because in all honesty, most of the stuff I've ever ran has been Dungeons. I'm not really. I mean, I've not super excited about running that specifically, but I'm not into. I'm psychologically hesitant to ever run anything in an established IP because I feel like I'm not going to hit the correct notes, right? I know in the past I've always bought the Star Wars RPG books every time they've released them, and then I get them, and then I'm like, who wants to run this? Because I don't want to run this. I'm afraid I'm going to do something wrong.
Right.
So I think it would be. I'd want to go with something that to me isn't at least a big IP thing. So I think I could. I mean, maybe we could do something like Shadow Dark or something. That could be fun to do.
Oh yeah, you should take a look at that and see what you think of the rules. Yeah, because I wouldn't mind trying that just because it's got such a good buzz and so many awards. So yeah, but we'll come up with something.
Cool.
Nice. Oh, nice. Oh yeah, Dark Souls. Oh yeah. Oh, the Hollows is like the dark. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did read about this. Yeah, Hollows is like Dark Souls, a Dark Souls like RPG. I enjoy playing and running it. Nice.
So it's like you're a character in a dreary world that's set to die, but
and
you're going to make a difference.
Yeah, maybe like soul. Yeah, maybe like a soul that's reincarnated. Nice. Yeah, there's a quick start for it. Yeah, I'll take a look at the Hollows. That's cool. Orcus will send the new player's handbook to Japan so we can run it. Nice. Do they have to print? I noticed on some of the advanced digital copies that some of the YouTubers got, it put their channel name as a watermark across every page. It's like, come on, guys, this isn't the most valuable genius work that it's. Everyone is trying to do exactly what you're doing right now is improve on 5e. I thought that was so funny to see all the lengths that Wizards went to control the release of this. Nice. So the Hollows it's a dark RPG that does a good job of capturing the combat style of the games. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. I definitely want to take a look at that. You haven't. Orcus hasn't opened the new player's handbook. You haven't seen all that wonderful art of all those starry-eyed, happy young adventurers.
They aren't even adventurers in the art that I've seen. They're just people.
Right.
It's very much feels like they're all surrogates for the real people, but they didn't put them. They didn't sound like, oh, I imagine myself in this fantastic life. It's like, imagine yourself working a mundane job in a fantasy world. It's like, I don't want to work a mundane job.
Wow,
I already do that now.
I could make coffee for elves. Wow, this is so cool. Yeah. I don't know what they're going for, but yeah, they're definitely. You don't see a lot of combat. You don't see anybody facing down anything because we're all just trying to get along here. We're all just trying to get along. No dungeon crawling for us.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how art conveys that type of thing, right? All the new, people say it's bad. I don't think the art's bad, on a technical level for the new D&D stuff. It just, it's bad in terms of the fact it doesn't portray what I imagine a fantasy adventure thing would be, but I don't feel like that's even what they're trying to go for anymore. I feel like if they were to make a 6th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, it would just be a completely narrative game with no mechanics. I feel is that's what they're they're wanting to do, but they have all these all the trappings of what D&D actually is. That they're just there's all this stuff we have to sit on top of to do it, but we have this name and we can't divorce it from these rules.
Right.
So we'll do it in every way except for through the actual rules.
Yeah. Yeah, Miguel had a good. I liked his opinion about the art. It looks like the illustrations in the Watchtower magazine. It has a very like,
Yeah.
join us. It's join us. That the world is ending, but we're all gonna be fine. Yeah, you're all being bathed in the golden light of the dungeon master. Yeah, it's odd. Wow. So Orca says, yeah, we have no clue why we got invited and wasn't expecting a book. So it was like, ew, okay, I guess a free book is a free book. Yeah, if you've got one of those sofas where one of the legs is, you can, the player's handbook will fit right under there. Yeah, that's so funny that they, not only that they're giving them out, and it's Gen Con is a huge, press event, so they're giving them out. And then they're like, but don't show it on your YouTube or you're going to lose your YouTube channel. Make up your mind. Oh, yeah, the household RPG, Carolina. Yeah, the borrower style game. Yeah, that might be fun. Will, you should take a look at that. It's got a neat system as well. It's a D6 system, but it's a fantasy RPG, but everyone's little people, and you're like, like the borrowers or like the Littles. I think there was a cartoon called The Littles. Yeah, where you're living in a fantasy world, but it's like an overflowing bathtub or a Christmas tree that's fallen over. Basically, it's this like manor estate that's been abandoned, and just these like cultures have developed, and
you're tiny. The rooms are huge.
Yes.
Compared to you, and like it's kind of fantastical, right? It's not like no, like we live on this Christmas tree, and we can, even though we're like 4 inches tall, somehow this entire Christmas tree is like a whole world to us that we can explore and do stuff in. Yeah, I think I remember seeing something like that. It looks very interesting, very whimsical in a way, and
but it still has all the trappings of like fantasy RPG. There's combat, like half of a pair of scissors is your like longsword, and there's some really fun stuff. And so like rats and bumblebees are these like menaces. the bestiary is all minor pests and things, cockroaches and things.
Probably some cats like a dragon or something type of an idea.
Yeah, anything of that scale. Oh my god, game over. Nice. Yes, that's right. Yeah, Orcus, the Littles cartoon. That's right. Yeah, and there was Ghibli, the Japanese studio, did the Ariete movie as well, which is that same kind of little people. Yeah, it's fun. And they played with that in the box set of that game, where the reverse side of the maps were candy wrappers. Like they were, the logos for candy was printed on the reverse of the map. So like the map is literally written on a big candy wrapper. a toffee wrapper. Nice. But so we've got lots of stuff. Thanks for the recommendations, though. I appreciate that. Carolina and Orcus both. That's very cool. Yeah, some change of pace.
Yeah, both those do seem kind of cool. Yeah, they would be a cool change from especially from like, because we've been doing so much stuff that's heavy IP. I feel that like in terms of the fact that like we're in Dune, we're in Blade Runner, we're in Star Trek, and to be in something that's like this thing that we don't have. I mean, we don't have the same preconceived notions, right? Like, because I know what happened, especially with Dune, is that as someone who hadn't really read anything or done anything, like I am like, well, what's up with the no computers? I mean, I understand the reason why, but I'm like, can't we have thinking computers? What's wrong? And Matt's like, no, you can't do it. And I'm like,
right.
Can't we? Why can't I understand like why we're not, but it's like, but I really feel like that's the thing I want to poke. But at the same time, that's not really what Dune's about. So it feels like it's not the thing. Like that's not what it's exploring. So like going into that would be fun, but it would also be turn it from Dune to something else entirely.
Right. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. We'll see. Something without an IP or with an original IP that isn't like so established would be fun to play around in. Yeah. That's cool. Oh wow. Orcus was saying this. Speaking of the Littles, he saw the official Smurf RPG. Looks fun. A friend of his is co-writing it. Nice.
Oh, that could have some, because you pick a shtick, and that's the Smurf you are. That's pretty cool.
And you talking Smurf the whole time. You Smurf and Smurfers. You mother Smurf and Smurfers. He can be the Samuel L. Jackson of Smurfland. These mother Smurf and Smurfs on this mother Smurfing plane. Oh wow, nice. Well, thank you, Will, this was fun. I'm glad we got
Yeah,
a chance to.
I had fun.
Yeah, good. Thank you. And yeah, so I will see you tomorrow about this time. And everybody, if you're subscribed to the channel, you'll get a notification when we go live for some Dune. And we'll try I'll try to, it's like a 3-act kind of pre-written adventure I'm using pieces of. So we'll kind of like condense that down into a fun little one-shot for the for Tars and Kel to to experience. Well, Jack is on holiday.
So are we going to be like in media res? Are we going to be already in the story, crashing our ship into Dune?
Oh, I should. Yeah,
when we
that.
start, and then we go from there.
Just say we're going down. We're going down. Nice. Actually, yeah, that gives me some ideas. I should probably do that, like pick up on an action note. But I also kind of want to tie it in because we do have things that we want to get the planetologist back to his place. Nice.
Yeah, and I know we're wrapping up here, but something I wanted to ask about, and that maybe I don't know how much you want to go into, but
sure.
when you're prepping for adventure stuff for us, in the past we've done a lot of modules,
right?
And I feel like Dune is not. I mean, I'm sure you're using module stuff. I know you're touch bunch stuff, but as someone I've honestly never ran something that's a module. It's the same thing. I'm paranoid of like going into someone else's thing and then screwing it up. So like I'm like I can't read a module. I mean I've read a few, but the old like A7 modules. Like the old floppy D&D modules, which had very little in them. Like how much do you try to prep for us beforehand? Because I mean, I know like one time when we were playing John Carter, I was like, we're going over here. Matt's like, that sounds great. And then you're like, oh, I guess we're done for the night, guys. And we had to stop.
Yeah.
With Dune, it doesn't feel the same way. Like, I don't see the module that we're running.
Yeah, it's I'm just kind of like taking inspiration from pieces of adventures that were done, and because we're not, and most of them, it's funny because most of them are Arrakis based, and so we're not doing anything on Arrakis. So I'm kind of modifying like how things would work in a either on the water moon or in other situations. So yeah, it's a lot of piecemeal and being inspired by just like every week I kind of just like dive into the either the encyclopedia or some of the wiki stuff or some of the audiobooks for the Brian Herbert stuff, and there's always like little inspirational things, and then also other media that there's other stuff that has come up. Like I'll just take notes like during the week, and then and you guys like really pick up on stuff, so I don't have to like completely flesh stuff out. It seems like when I completely, because I had almost like a dungeon crawl for those tunnels under Ix, the Ixian tunnels, and it's like, oh yeah, that's not how we play this. That's not how we do this. So it didn't make sense to make things go that way. But I just use a lot of inspiration, and there's so much content already produced for Dune. There's a lot of pre-gen or pre-made characters for different adventures that I can grab and pull into. The only thing that they haven't really, I didn't have a good basis for that political process. Like when they were doing the Landsraad vote, there wasn't anything that kind of spelled out how that would mechanically, like how that would make sense. So that's the improvisation that didn't go as well as I hoped. Like those were mechanics I probably could have used a published example of.
I know Matt was drug out after that one. I didn't mind it so much. It was, I mean, it was dry, right?
Yes,
like comparatively to the other stuff.
Right. Yeah, and that was funny because it was I loved how narrative the Chome negotiation got, where you guys were like slinging insults back and forth, and that worked really well. But yeah, with just like tallying a vote and like persuading houses, it didn't go.
I think it was the lack of opposition, right? There wasn't.
Yes, right. Yeah,
like
that's
there was
true.
nothing actively working against us. We were just like, it was like, don't mess this up. And it's like, okay, I'll try not to roll.
Get the vote. Go out there and get the votes. Start knocking on doors. It's like, okay. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us, and I'll see you soon. Well, yeah. So we'll be almost 24 hours from now, a little bit less, like 22 hours from now. We'll probably be doing this again on the stream. So, and I'll upload the next session of Vaesen. I'll keep those coming on the channel, and also get those on the podcast RSS feed. So. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you next time. So thanks to all the members, supporters, and patrons, and we'll do this again soon. Goodbye.
Bye.